I'll keep it short. My dad died when I was 6 and my mom remarried when I was 7. When my mom remarried, her husband adopted me, which I didn't want, and they changed my middle name and last name. Middle name went from my dad's middle name to her husband's first name, and she gave me her husband's last name. I never liked it. I've always resented them both for forcing the adoption on me and for changing my name. I'm a few months shy of 18, and I decided I would bring up the topic of changing my name back to my mom. I figured it might seem more mature to discuss it with her and give a heads up of sorts. Not him though, since it would just end in a fight. It ended in one anyway. My mom told me I wasn't going to change the name, it would be hurtful and disrespectful, and that was the end of the conversation. I told her I gave her the heads up to be nice, but it wasn't up for debate. She told me I wasn't going to do it, that she and my dad don't deserve it. I told her I would do it whether she liked it or not, and she had to live with it. My mom freaked. Her husband freaked when he heard. They said I have no right to be so rude, and then my aunt decided to chime in and said I should have handled my mom's reaction more maturely, and it would have looked better, and I was kind of an idiot for how I handled it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That's so weird to change your middle name too, in my opinion. You can have whatever name you like. You are old enough that you should have been consulted, not just told, here's your new middle and last name. When you're an adult, you can do what you want to do with your name. You feel your real name was stolen from you, and you're going to put things right. I don't blame you. They can't stop you from pursuing this. Good luck. Not the idiot. They are so upset about their own feelings and how disrespectful it is to them that you would be changing your name. But they're missing how hurtful and disrespectful it felt to you when they changed your name without your consent. They can be disappointed, sure, but to act like you're wronging them is nonsense. You didn't ask for this, and they can't stop you from changing it back once you're a legal adult. Good for you for trying to maturely let them know what you were doing. Don't get caught up in their emotions and games. And just because OP was a child when this happened doesn't mean their feelings were any less valid. People often justify the cruelty they inflict on children as it's okay because I'm the parent and it's my choice. Or they'll grow out of feeling that way, or I'm the parent and I know best, which may be true in a lot of situations, but not every situation. Sounds like Mom was trying to force a united family dynamic that just wasn't there. It's your name, and you can do what you like. They may feel disrespected by your choice, but they disrespected your feelings by doing it in the first place. Agree. Not the idiot. What your mom did wasn't right and in my opinion wasn't normal. It's like she's trying to erase your dad or something. And it was one thing to let her husband adopt you, but changing your name to basically his name is weird. You do what makes you happy, even if it makes them uncomfortable because you're the one that has to live with this. I, 25 female, have an employee, 20-ish male. Let's call him Amir. Amir had a falling out with his parents and blocked them on his personal cell phone. Amir's parents have been calling our front desk while he's working. He will tell them that he can't take their calls at work and hang up. They call back. If he screens their calls, they call over and over, tying up our phones. They will then call other people in the office pretending to be a customer. They tell us that the person at the front desk is not answering the phone and is providing poor customer service, so that we will go out and force Amir to answer. I talked to our IT department to see if we could block specific numbers on our phones, but was told that this wasn't an option. My boss, Amir, and I were in the process of trying to work out a solution to this mess. Before that could happen, Amir's parents came into our office and started screaming at their son. I made up some bogus excuse to send Amir to the back of our offices to work on a project to get him out of the situation. Once Amir had gone, his parents turned to leave. I stopped them and introduced myself as Amir's supervisor. I explained how it is our policy not to use work phones for personal calls. Also, if they needed to discuss personal issues with their son in person, this was best done outside of his workplace. His father became angry and told me that he had every right to call his son on our phones because we are funded through tax money and he is a taxpayer. I explained that his tax dollars pay for our services, which he is welcome to use, but we cannot tie up our phones with personal family calls. His father then demanded that I force Amir to speak to them since I was his supervisor. I explained that it was not my business to get involved with the family matters of my employees. I told them that Amir was an employee when he was on the clock and they were customers, and in this context what they were doing was harassment. This touched a nerve and his father blew up and started yelling in my face. He basically told me that he would go to the president of the organisation to complain about me and get me fired. Then he and his wife stormed out. As soon as they left, a co-worker came out from the back office and was livid. He told me that I didn't understand what it was like to be a parent and was angry that I told Amir's parents that they couldn't call him at work. This is literally our work policy. It applies to everyone, including myself and other co-workers. It goes way above my head. My co-worker knows about Amir's parents calling him repeatedly at work and thinks that this is reasonable behaviour given the situation. He then tells me that I should sit down with Amir and have a heart-to-heart about reconciling with his parents. I refuse, saying that Amir is an adult and it's not my place. My co-worker now thinks that I'm an idiot. So, am I? Not the idiot. Your co-worker is an idiot. This is harassment. You need to let the parents know in no uncertain terms that their constant contact with their son at work affects his ability to carry out his contracted work and is therefore causing a possibility of him being disciplined or terminated. They need to cut the strings and back off, or they'll find themselves having to pay for their son through being unemployed. That's probably the point of harassing him at work, so he'll be forced to move back with them. You are not the idiot. And next time they show up, call the cops and have them trespassed. Start a paper trail. I would also let HR know about the co-worker because he was way out of line, and I wouldn't be surprised if he started causing problems by trying to fix the relationship. Exactly. These aren't caring parents. These are crazy parents who may or may not care. It's not your job to fix or enable Amir's relationship with them. And the co-worker that's sympathetic towards them is probably somewhere on the crazy scale themselves, speaking from experience. Don't let them butt in. This has to be handled between you, Amir, HR and the police. Came here to say this. I too am a parent and would under no circumstances consider this rational behaviour. They sound toxic and narcissistic. Their son is a grown-up, and if he chooses not to talk to them, that's his business. It seems he has good reason for cutting them off. They are putting his job in jeopardy by continually harassing him and disregarding the rules of his workplace. You're not the idiot, OP. Your co-worker and these overbearing parents are. If they continue this behaviour, see about getting a paper trail and reporting it to the proper authorities. Not the idiot. You handled this very professionally. Amir doesn't realise how fortunate he is to have a manager like you. What they are doing is absolutely harassment. It was the correct word to use. I suspect Amir is embarrassed about what happened in front of his boss and colleagues. Family stuff is complicated, and there's a lot of shame around it. My 28 male sister, 27, was supposed to get married in the summer of 2020, and it got postponed for obvious reasons. They ended up having a Zoom wedding, which was honestly cute. But now that everyone is vaccinated and things are open, they want to have a real wedding in July. Due to the nature of my work, I have very little time off and have to schedule it far in advance. The weekend they've chosen, my wife and I plan to visit our college friends who live far away. When we got the invite, I saw the dates conflicted, so I told her sorry, but I can't wait to see the pictures. When they went ahead with the Zoom wedding, I was never told they planned on having an in-person event later on when allowed. I learned about that this week. We've booked flights and accommodations with a group of 6, which was our entire main friend group in college months ago. My wife really misses all of them. We might be able to get the flights exchanged, I haven't checked. Just know some airlines have changed their policies due to global issue. But as for the accommodations, we'd only be able to get an 80% refund total, so everyone else would lose 20% too, or have to find a random couple to take our spot. It was super hard to find a time that worked for all of us, and they already had to make concessions due to my schedule, so I'd feel terrible pulling back now and having them have to find a replacement or lose their money. But that did not go over well. Now my sister and my parents are giving me a lot of grief about it, telling me how I had my big day in summer 2019 and now it's her turn as family, I need to be there. But in my mind, I was already there for their wedding and sent a very generous gift and everything. I feel like my position is logical, but then again, I'm slightly neurotypical and sometimes see these things differently. Am I really being that out of line here? Everyone's the idiot here. You. Your sister's in-person wedding is important to her, and it should be more important than visiting friends. If you have a good relationship with your sister and want to keep it that way, you should go to the wedding. I get why you're annoyed, But you've got to pick your battles. Your sister. If you're planning an event and some critical people must be there, you ask those people for their availability. Picking an arbitrary wedding date with 3 months' notice and not asking family members for their availability was pretty dumb on her part. I'm going with no idiots here because you aren't obligated to attend something just because you were invited, but I am more on your sister's side. You will damage your relationship with her if you don't attend, and it will be mostly your fault. People were forced into weddings they wouldn't have chosen because of global issue. If they are now trying to have the wedding they would have chosen with the people they love there to celebrate in person, then please show up for that. This global issue has sucked enough without family members deciding, nope, I don't care about what is important to you. Honestly, the people who had to reschedule weddings due to global issue are dealing with a lot of hurt right now. I get this, and you know what? Countless people worldwide had things important to them. One-time life events, cherished relationships, meaningful, long-planned interactions interrupted, cancelled, crushed. OP's sister is not the only one who's hurting, reeling from collective trauma, saddened to miss out on what they thought life would hold for them. All of us are still struggling for some sense of what our new reality looks like, how to heal, how to re-enter our social shared world. It's really a shame for people whose weddings aren't what they hoped for, truly and sincerely. But if this imaginary vision means she feels that her needs are more important than anyone else's, and that the global issue somehow hurt her more than others, she needs to think carefully about herself and her possibly inflated sense of her place in a struggling world. Etiquette-wise, your sister is the idiot, not just for hounding you, but for having a second wedding. I'm not sure why everyone is saying Zoom weddings don't count. Does that mean justice of the peace ones don't count? Elopements don't count? This couple got married, there were witnesses. Now they're choosing to hold a second ceremony. At this point, it's not a wedding, it's a party. They're married already. If they wanted to eventually do the real thing, they shouldn't have done the Zoom one. You attended their real wedding already. You have booked plans with many other people. Backing out of those commitments would make you an idiot. Not the idiot to skip this party. My wife and I both work full-time, upwards of 50 hours a week, and it's not uncommon for 70-hour work weeks for both of us. We also travel frequently for work. We have 3 kids, and for the past 2 years we've been using a nanny service for childcare. It used to be that my parents would watch the kids, but they recently moved to Arizona. My wife wants a live-in nanny who is basically on kid duty 24/7 during the work week, Friday night until Monday morning off. I don't have a problem with this, and I think it would be great for the kids. The problem is my wife has fired every nanny we've had in the last 2 years. We've gone through 4, so about every 6 months she asks the service for a new one. Her reasons for this are she doesn't want the kids to become more attached to the nanny than to us, and it's better to replace them frequently. I understand where my wife is coming from because she does work so much, and I know she feels guilt over not being with them. We could have her stay home financially, but she loves her career. I think a live-in nanny would be best for the kids. I love the idea of someone always being there and a stable presence in the home. My wife totally agrees and wants to do it. But I won't agree to this if the nanny is continually replaced every 6 months. It's not fair to her or our kids. My wife doesn't see the problem. Anyone have any experience here? How can I convince her? That is incredibly messed up. Your kids will have literally no stability or consistency in their caregiver. That's the worst thing for them. Not to mention it's an awful way to treat a human being who works for you. I'm a working parent myself, so I don't want to be too judgy here, but what exactly does 24/7 during the work week mean? Does that mean neither you nor your wife has any interaction with the kids during the week? No meals together? No bedtime routines? You're just at work and there with the nanny? Because if so, nothing you can do will make them more attached to you than any other random people they only see on the weekends. If this is the case, you both should be thinking about making serious changes to your work life so that you can parent your kids. Imagine being so insecure about your relationship with your children that you'd harm other people and their careers. What your wife is doing is messed up and likely harmful not only to the nannies but the children as well. Your wife needs to schedule some therapy time for herself. Her views are literally doing damage to your kids. The person who raises your children needs to be someone you trust, they like, and becomes part of your family. The effects of what you're doing on the children will include several negative behaviour changes. Mom and Dad are gone, and who cares what this month's nanny thinks because there'll be a new one in a few weeks. You're setting yourself up for not only issues with the children, but eventually none of the good folks will want to work for you, and you'll get the bottom of the barrel if you're not already there. Why did you and your wife have 3 kids if you guys are going to be working 50 to 70-hour weeks and not raising or parenting them at all? You're hardly present in your children's lives. The way you have this situation worked out is that the nanny is the full-time parent, and you only have custody on the weekends and possibly nights. Your children have zero stability or actual parent figures in their lives. They get a new nanny every 6 months, and their parents are never around for them. They're definitely going to grow up with some issues because of this. My security camera captured my neighbours having an affair in a parked car late at night. The car seems to park strategically away from the streetlights. My camera motion sensor would trigger a man getting in the car, and shortly after, a woman. The session lasts about 20 minutes, and it had happened once or twice a week. The video quality isn't excellent, but I know my neighbours well, e.g. their physiques, how they usually dress, their gaits, etc. And I'm 99% certain that I could identify the man and the woman. It bothers me that I hold this information from their spouses. The awkwardness and the guilt build over time. I don't want to blackmail or personally gain anything other than the desire to have their spouses know the truth. The problem is, I don't want any of them to find out that I know. I can't simply say, "Hey, check out this video, my security camera." How do I communicate with the spouses without leaving any hints for any of them to trace back to me? I'd say don't worry about proving it or making an accusation. Just leave an anonymous message to the cheated-on party saying what you've been able to observe. If they're being cheated on, it doesn't seem to be done very discreetly, and they'll at least have a heads up to start paying attention. If this is an agreed-upon arrangement, they'll know they're not being as private as they think they are and be able to tell their partner. Keep it polite and neutral. I normally disagree with notifications without supporting evidence, but in this case, there would be no way for OP to give the evidence and remain anonymous. It would be obvious whose security system the video came from. There's a good chance that one or both of the betrayal spouses will go full-on confront mode instead of getting sleuthy. This will probably backfire because, without evidence, there's a good chance that the cheaters can lie or sweet-talk their way out of it. Next time you see them sneaking out, you could call the non-emergency police line to report people having intimacy in public. Maybe the cops show up and bust them and everyone finds out. This happened in my high school. A popular senior girl sleeping with a teacher, her parents found out and demanded they stop. They didn't, so the parents called the cops to have them busted one night. LOL. I would play the really dumb card. These people keep triggering your motion sensors. Tell your neighbours to stop doing that. They just keep getting into that car. Tell them to do it somewhere else. Extra points if their spouse is there when you tell. Best of luck.